All right, guys. Hey, give me a second. I just want to make sure everything is coming up. Let's see. One second. Yep. All right. Awesome. I see myself. All right. So let me move this. I'll keep this here for a little bit. But yeah, I just want to say thanks again for taking your time to join me here on this 5 minute-ish Fridays. It means a lot. Just to recap, my goal is every Friday at noon, just to kind of cover something real estate related, retirement, mortgage note, just real estate investing, um, in 5 minutes or less. Sometimes it goes longer than 5 minutes depending on the subject, and then also talking about the intro. So with that, I will get into it. Hang on a sec, just making sure I don't see anything. Awesome, man! I got a bunch of people. Welcome. If this is your first time, just wanted to say welcome. And let me go ahead and I'm going to move this over here and share my PowerPoint. You guys should see that, and it is showing up. Awesome. Okay. So once again, I just want to thank you for showing up for this In the Know 5 minute-ish Fridays. The goal is to cover, like I said, various topics. This topic, I'm going to be talking about buying at a discount, how yield works in note investing. And so, as I do with all my other presentations, I am not a financial planner nor a CPA. This video is for educational purposes only. Please, please, please consult with a qualified professional, a CPA, a financial planner, an attorney. That way, they can help you cover your financial goals on what you're looking for. Everybody's goals is different. Everybody has different goals, different tax brackets that they're in. So you definitely need to be working with a qualified financial planner, CPA, or attorney helping you with this. And what I also like to say is whatever I give you or anybody else gives you, always take that to your financial planner to see if that'll work. This is what I'm currently doing on my business. And like I was saying, everybody's mileage will vary with this. So with that, what does buying at a discount actually mean? Well, you pay less than the remaining balance on a loan, and we're talking about mortgage notes. And I'll have an example here. So if you buy a $100,000 note for $70,000, you're still collecting full payments. That's where the profit comes in. So that's where this yield versus interest rate. So the interest rate is what the borrower pays you. The yield is your return based on your purchase price. So you can earn anywhere between 10 to 15% yield, even if the borrower's rate is 6%. And I'll have an example of that. So here's an example. Say you had a $100,000 note at 6% interest, amortized over 30 years. The monthly payment is going to be $599.55, but you buy it for $70,000. Your monthly payment, or not your monthly payment, but the borrower's monthly payment still stays the same along with the interest rate, but your return is higher, which actually results in a 9.71% yield instead of the 6%. So why does this? Because you paid less for the note. You're buying it instead of at $100,000, you're buying that at a discount of $70,000. And I have an example of showing you like in a financial calculator, but you're still collecting the full stream of payments. So here's the example. If you have I would recommend the Hewlett-Packard 10 BII financial calculator. They have, you could buy it as an individual calculator, or you can just get the app and download it on your mobile phone. They also have a desktop version of this as well. I have it on my Android phone, and they have an iPhone equivalent. And so this one on the left is actually showing you like the amortization. You have 360. You could punch this in, 360 payments, interest rate 6%. The note current value. This is just assuming the note's just like first created, right? No payments have been made or anything. So the monthly payment's $599.55. So if you buy this note at 360 payments, $599.55, your interest rate that you're going to be earning is 9.71%. So now this yield is before servicing costs. So that's where you have to be careful. You also have to factor if the note, oftentimes in the note, it has the language whether the borrower is going to pay servicing costs or not. So that's where you need to, if somebody's selling a note, you need to ask, or you need to read the note, the promissory note, to see if they are paying it. Because right now, this is the note. This is the gross yield, right? Based off the 5.99. But if you have servicing fees, this will more than likely, if like $30 servicing fees, it more than likely drop down to about 8% or so. So just be careful when you buy these notes. That's why when you buy these notes at a discount, you can command these higher rates, anywhere between 10 to 15%. So why does yield matter? Well, it actually shows your actual return, just not what's on paper. And it helps compares deals, apples to apples and not apples to oranges. And that another thing too is maybe I'll do a next a next series on IRR. I don't get tripped up on the internal rate of return, because you can manipulate that based off of whether the money comes all towards the end or towards the beginning of it. And it'll give you a false positive. That's why I like to annualize. In this particular case, this is the yield based off the note. But whenever I'm comparing anything, I like to always use, I like to annualize my rate of return. So that way, I annualize everything. So that way I can compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges. So it just helps you, right? And then buying at a bigger discount, it actually provides higher yields if the borrower keeps paying. So this is the big thing. If they don't, then this property is secured, or this note is secured by the property, and you can just take this back and just foreclose on them. So, and this is the risk of chasing yields. High yields can mean more risk, older notes, weaker borrowers. Always check property value. Always do your due diligence on this. Always check your borrower's history and payment record. Always look at the value of the property. And the next slide talks about investment to value. So you have to have specific guidelines to make sure that you stay safe when you're investing in this, and always balance yield with risk tolerance. And so, like I was talking about before, focus on yield and investment. That's what ITV stands for, investment to value, just not rate. Yield tells you what you want to earn, not what the borrower pays. Buying at a discount increases your return, but high yield doesn't always mean it's safe. Always check your investment to value. Aim for at least 70% or less to stay protected. So this way, this will make sure that you have a little bit of cushion if you had to foreclose on that property. If the borrower stops paying, you can foreclose on that property, take that property back, and still have enough cushion to recover your investments. So why does investment to value matter? Well, investment to value, you take, like I was saying before, you take your price divided by the property value. That's your investment to value. So if you buy a $100,000 home note, or I'm sorry, a $100,000 house note for $65,000, your investment to value is 65%, right? So you take 65,000, divide that by 100,000, you get a 65% value. So that provides enough cushion in case you have to take that property back. So lower ITV equals lower risk. If this borrower stops paying, you got room to recover through foreclosure or resell. And just as a rule of thumb, just stick to a 70% or less investment to value. That's pretty much the sweet spot that I typically like. I know some investors, and then also if you have access to cheaper money, they go up. I don't know. They go up to 80, 85%, 90%. Of the investment to value, and I just think that's crazy. You have to have some cushion built in, because not everything 100% goes as planned, right? So I always prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And I don't know if there are any questions or answers. I should say questions. Let's see. I am not seeing anything. I'm just checking here. All right, so if you have any questions, just go ahead and drop them in the chat. Or if you like to, just schedule a time with me, you can go to Larry@ljhinvestments.com. Email me. Call me, 513-301-1468. Or if you like to schedule a time on my calendar, talkwithlarryhoffman.com takes you to a Calendarly link. That way you could book a time that's convenient for you. And we can we can go over this, or if you have questions about notes in general, or real estate, or retirement, just feel free to book a time with me. Hang on a second, and then what I'll do is I'll switch back over to this guy, and then once again you can do talkwithlarryhoffman.com. Let me move this window over here. You can do talkwithlarryhoffman.com to schedule a time with me, and I'll be more than willing to sit down with you and help you any way I can with these notes or real estate, or even if you're looking to put some money into circulation, earning an above average return, let me know. I can definitely help you with that. So I don't see any questions. I do see a lot of people on here, and I guess I did a good enough job to where I didn't have any questions. All right, I'm just looking.